Welcome to a brand new series. This is North Country, the last frontier of Italian Adventure Resort. Alright, welcome back to a brand new series. This is going to be the series where I build North Country. Now, North Country, you might be thinking, what is that? What does it have to do with Italian Adventure Resort? North Country essentially is my idea of this northern last frontier area in the park. When you think of North Country, think of Alaska, Rocky Mountains, northern states. There's actually going to be a lot of inspiration from different parts of North America, all in North Country. Does it have to do with Italy? It does not, but Italian Adventure Resort is not all just specifically just Italy. As you know, I have Galactic Outpost, Freedom Land. Let's get right into North Country and the story behind North Country to me. I recorded the intro to North Country actually while visiting the Thousand Islands in Canada. It was one of the spaces that kind of inspired what North Country is going to look like. Pine trees, deciduous trees, you know, just that overall feel like you're up north camping in the woods. There was actually a few different trips that I went on that did inspire this North Country. You'll see in episode 2, I actually, a little bit of a spoiler, I do start the episode from Yosemite National Park that actually inspired and kind of reshaped what North Country is going to look like. Originally, I had some ideas of what it was going to be, but it was going to be inspired by Grizzly Peak and Disney's California Adventure with that Grizzly Peak inspired mountain, but I didn't really have an idea of what the surrounding mountains would kind of look like. Instead of just doing regular plain old mountains, which I've done many times before in an Italian Adventure Resort, I wanted this to be kind of just a blend of different areas. I also did have some inspiration for the buildings. So the concept of North Country is it's this valley that's surrounded by a bunch of mountains, very similar to Yosemite Valley. Eyeshadow, if you can see here in the frame. Within this valley, there's going to be a river raft ride that goes around the entire perimeter of the entire area. Right now, the working title for it is Bear Rapids. That may change, but right now that's the name that I kind of landed on. Bear Rapids does almost like a scenic tour around North Country while also being up in the mountain. Within the valley, there's a river where some of Bear Rapids goes through, and then it's going to go under a waterfall to kind of hide some of the ride. Also does a little loop around the expanded part of Mystical Beasts, not to be confused with Mr. Beast, which is the ride that's part of Enchanted Village. Enchanted Village is kind of that Harry Potter inspired area, and Mystical Beast is, it's my own take on Hagrid's motorbike. I forget the exact name of it, but you know what I'm talking about. And now that I have this expanded area, I did want to incorporate and kind of expand the Mystical Beast ride. So that's going to have some expansion there too. Another inspiration for North Country is where I used to live years prior to me moving to Florida. I used to live in Minnesota. There were a lot of beautiful parks that we would visit. I just wanted to incorporate that. I just felt Italian Adventure wouldn't be right without having one of those areas. The entrance is very inspired by national parks. Think of that log entrance with like the hanging sign that says welcome to blank national park. This one's really saying welcome to North Country. And a really cool way that I wanted to incorporate the river raft ride was I wanted that to go just above the sign, the entrance, adding that kinetic energy, making it more inviting and more lifelike in North Country. I'm really excited to see what the area is going to look like finished. I do have a specific area just planned to be a trail. I've done parks and trails within Italian Adventure Resort. They're typically not that big. This is actually going to be the biggest trail that I've done. It is not going to be accessible to the NPCs. This is just going to be if you're visiting the park and you want to have a little scenic walk. It's going to have some secrets that you'll get to see later, and it is going to go above the river, so there's going to be a lot of kinetic energy there too. And throughout the park, I'm going to have different animals around the different parts of grizzly bears, black bears, elk, deer, moose, wolves, coyotes. You know, most of the stuff that you see when you go up north. We did have a lot of like coyotes, not so many bears bears when I lived up in Minnesota. A lot of deer too, especially when you're driving at night. Watch out for those deer. The entrance for Bear Rapids is actually inspired by one of those holiday houses. I saw it at the store when it was on clearance after the holidays, and I thought it was really beautiful. I'm actually going to bring it out right now so you guys can take a look. Be right back. This is the Black Bear Lodge, which is just one of those light up buildings that can add to a Christmas village. I just really love the design, and I wanted this to be the entrance of Bear Rapids, or at least the facade of the entrance. There's also a really beautiful bridge that you may have already saw me building. That one I did a bunch of different research and try to find some bridges that they use in national parks. I wanted this to be different from bridges I've done in different parts of the park. You're gonna see a lot of stone and a lot of wood and logs used within the architecture of a lot of these buildings. There's going to be a lot of log cabin inspired stuff, or lodge inspired. I mean, a really cool thing is in the next video that you're going to see, the game just had an update. In this episode, you do see me do some rock work, at least you'll see it later. I gotta say, after this update, it's definitely changed how easy and just how more detailed the rock work can look. I'm going to have a bear shaped mountain, very inspired by Grizzly Peak, that you'll see on episode 2. That just came out looking so great, in my opinion. I mean, who knows, some people might look at it and be like, this ain't that great. So also think about it, it is a game called Theme Park Tycoon 2, where you're basically just using literal cubes and circles and whatnot to build stuff. The only thing that you can build that's a little bit more in depth is the rides themselves. If you haven't already seen my series, I know I'm repeating this over and over again, but just have some grace. I get to building that entrance queue in a bit, but I also did start working on the waterfall that the Bear Rapids goes into a cave and over. This waterfall, it is inspired by Bridal Veil Falls, which is in Yosemite. I'm going to try to put up a picture on the screen. The overall look, like I mentioned, of North Country is going to be very inspired by Yosemite Valley. So there will be an El Capitan, there will be a half dome. I am going to have Bridal Veil Falls, as you saw. I don't know a lot of the other big landmarks. I've only been to Yosemite once, and I'm still trying to learn, so maybe you guys will see in later episodes it's going to be a little bit more inspired, a little bit more accurate. We'll see. And I'm just really excited to see how this area is going to look. I know that I kind of went ahead and started really working on the terrain, which technically I really should just be working on the buildings first and then build the terrain around. I just got really excited and inspired to see what the landscaping is going to look like. I know that's one of my favorite parts, but it's also, I guess, pretty crucial to making sure that you know what the landscaping is going to look like and what the terrain is going to look like. But also at the same time, I also need to work on the buildings, because sometimes I find myself get carried away that I start really working on the terrain and the landscaping, and then when I'm trying to fit in a building, I'm like, oh, I kind of have to redo all of this now, because I need to find a way that I can either hide like a show building or hide a restaurant that's inside the mountains, but from the outside it's just like a little facade of a small building. Later I start working on the queue of Bear Rapids. The queue is going to be very inspired of a lodge or a log cabin that you would visit while on holiday, while on vacation, or if you have a log cabin, good for you. The interior of it, you'll see me working on that a little bit more, but I also do start working on the exterior. This is a pretty long video. The first episode is typically one of the least exciting, just because it's very skeleton crew, just putting down the pathways, just trying to figure out what the area is going to look like. I did already have some initial blueprints that I was working on. I did start working on the blueprints and ideas for North Country, I think almost a year ago. I really started visualizing what North Country is going to look like within the past few months. I also did take some trips, like I mentioned, to Canada, North Carolina, using references to stuff that I had when I lived in Minnesota, and then California, just trying to take different elements of those places, because I visited the Great Smoky Mountains in North Carolina, Yosemite, and Tahoe while in California. Like I mentioned, lived next to many different smaller parks, not as big national parks when I was living in Minnesota. Went to the Thousand Islands in Canada. That was great inspiration too. The idea of North Country is that it's going to be set in late summer. I was thinking of also having North Country be able to be a winter retreat, but I felt like that would be getting very similar to the Alps, which I already have. That's kind of like my wintry area with the Matterhorn. I wanted to leave that theme to the Alps, and then to keep North Country this late summer, right before fall starting to come. So you're seeing a lot of animals as they're getting ready for hibernation for the winter. Some other ideas that I have for North Country besides Bear Rapids is going to be a lodge. Not the lodge, which I have in the Alps, which is this kind of restaurant, but it's going to be very inspired. It's going to be this dining hall, and I think I might have some extra ideas because it really is a large space. There's more that I could do with it, so that one is kind of like an idea. If you guys have any options of what you think, it's going to be pretty big. It's going to be larger than the size of the queue for Bear Rapids. I think almost 2 to 3 times bigger. I feel like using it just for a dining hall might not be that exciting. I am going to be having a secret lounge just for friends and for visitors. That one I'm still trying to figure out where exactly it's going to be. Additionally, I do have ideas of doing Country Bear Jamboree or Country Bear musical inspired show. I know that currently I only have one show. That's that Enchanted Theater. That's in Enchanted Village. Just this area, I don't really want to do a lot of those small kid rides or whatever. I just feel like it would take away from the scenery. I want this to be like the last frontier of Italian Adventure Resort. Think of it as kind of like a place where you would go to relax after being in the more busier parts of the park. It's actually just right there in the corner of the park, which I'll try to show you on the map. It's just going to be this area that, like, if you want to go on like a fun river rapids ride, or you want to do a trail, or you want to sit down and do some dining, there is going to be a lot of like trees and shaded areas within North Country. So this is going to be like more of a peaceful part of the park, not as jam-packed as places like Futureland that have 5 rides in what takes up probably a third or half of the size of North Country. That's where you'd want to go if you wanted to have a little bit more of like a busier schedule, or think of like Galactic Outpost. Like, that's 3 rides in that small area, and there's a lot of like detail. My idea too is to have North Country be as detailed as Galactic Outpost, but a little bit more relaxed, a little bit more chill. I'm really excited to continue to share and to show you guys different parts of North Country. I also wanted to say thank you for still sticking by with me. I know it's been about almost 2 months since I last posted. Last post was the 4-year anniversary tour video. Prior to that was the Salento Coast final episode. I know that I had a POV planned for Pirates and the Mermaid Adventure ride. That is still coming. I completely forgot about that. Like, no joke. Additionally, I did have that little reel, which was like a send this to a friend that you'd want to go to Italian Adventure Resort with. I'm planning on doing another little video like that and continuing to do fun videos. They're just really easy to edit, and it really gets to show off the beauty of the park. And I guess it's a way that I can show off new areas without having to do a full tour video. Thank you for watching episode 1. I'm already working on episode 2. I'm already, I'd say, about a quarter into building for episode 2. I'm sure that that video will be coming soon. I know initially I had thought that I would have North Country finished. I was being very ambitious here, as I thought that I would have it finished before winter of 2026. I was thinking that this will be a little Christmas present, that I'm gonna have North Country done and I can have some people visit. Maybe it's still possible. I know that we have about maybe like 2.5 months left until that date arrives. Maybe there's still time, but we will see. So again, thank you for sticking around. I can't wait to see you on episode 2. I hope that you're enjoying this kind of content, and if you have any other great ideas and suggestions, make sure to comment below. Thank you so much.